Hello everyone! Today we are going to knit a throw blanket using just our hands. There are lots of different patterns you can do when hand knitting, but today I will demonstrate how to do the cable knit sweater pattern as the one you see here with this beautiful blanket. You only need a few things for this project. First, you will need about 7 skeins of chunky yarn. This particular yarn I'm using is called Chunky Chenille yarn. It's about 2/3 inches thick and it is very soft. It's also very durable and easy to wash in the washing machine, making it perfect for a throw blanket to use while watching TV or reading. Next, you will need a tape measure to make sure you are getting the desired width and length for your throw blanket, and you will need sharp scissors to cut off the ends of the yarn. The only other things that you need are your 2 hands. Okay, let's get started. First, you'll need to find one end of your yarn. You can either dig in the middle of the skein to find it or just remove the band and the end will be right there for you. You will want to tie a simple knot at the end of your yarn. This will make it so the yarn will not fray or unravel as you use your blanket and wash it. So make sure it's tight, really tight on the end, and then just simply trim off the end with your scissors. Now we're ready to cast on stitches. This is done by simply making a continuous chain of loops with our fingers. To make the first loop, you will lay the working yarn on top of the tail. Then simply insert your fingers and pull the working yarn through the loop. This will be your first stitch. Now we will make the rest of our chain of stitches. For the cable knit pattern, you will want 21 chain stitches. So insert your hand again through the loop and pull the working yarn through the loop again. Continue doing this until you have 21 stitches. Once you have your chain of 21 stitches, you'll want to flip the whole chain over. This is going to make it so the edge of your blanket has a nice braided finished edge. Now let's get started on our first row of stitches. The end loop will be counted as your first stitch in the row. We are going to make loops in the middle knots of each chain. They're right here. See this little knot in the middle of the stitch? You'll want to insert your fingers into that knot, then grab the working yarn and pull it through. Make sure your loops are all about the same length as your first loop. Then the next knot. So you should have 21 loops all along the chain. So you can see that this is going to be a nice braided edge on your blanket. To start the cable knit sweater pattern, you will need to think in terms of 3. We will start with 3 purl stitches, which is done by bringing the working yarn in front of the loop and pushing it through to the back, making another loop. And then you'll do another one, purl stitch, and another, pushing it to the back, like that. And see, you can see the knot is on the front of the stitch. Then you'll do 3 knit stitches, and that's done by bringing the working yarn in back of the loop and pushing it to the front, like that. And you'll do 3 of those. 2, 3. You can see the different stitches. There's a purl stitch and there's a knit stitch. And you'll continue this pattern all the way down the chain. Next you'll do 3 purl stitches, pushing the yarn in back, pushing the yarn to the back, and again, then 3 knit stitches, so pulling it to the front. 1, 2, 3. And continue this pattern until you get to the end. This is the pattern that you're going to do for 6 rows. So this will be your first row, and you'll continue doing that pattern of purl 3, pushing the yarn in front to the back, front to the back, and then knitting. Yarn comes from the back to the front. When you come close to the end of your working yarn, you'll need to attach a second skein. To attach, you will find the end of the new working yarn and simply tie a knot in the end with the first one. Pull it nice and tight in both directions. Keep pulling until you can't pull anymore. And when you have it nice and tight, trim the ends close to the knot. This will make it so the knot will hide well inside your blanket and you won't be able to even see it. Okay, you should have 6 rows of the purl 3, knit 3 pattern. To make the 7th row, this is what's going to make the cable knit pattern. So every 7th row, you're going to do things a little bit differently. But to start off, you're going to do the same purl 3. So throughout the blanket, all of your purl stitches will be exactly the same. So you'll purl, and that's pushing the yarn to the back. Now, so you have your purl 3. Now when you get to the knitted part, you will take the first 2 loops and pull them down in front of you. Then you'll bring the 3rd loop of your knit stitches, pull it clear over, and knit that one first. So you're knitting that, and you want to be sure to get it as close to the purl stitch as you can so that you don't have a big gap of yarn in the back. So you'll knit that one first, then you'll go back and knit the other 2. So make sure you do the first one first, knit that, and then the 3rd one, you knit that. Or this one would technically be the 2nd one. Okay, so that makes your crisscross pattern here. Let's try that again. You will finish the blanket by doing the pattern of 6 purl 3, knit 3, then the 7th row with the cross, the cable knit pattern, just that one row, and then you'll continue on doing the purl 3, knit 3 for 6 more rows. Then the 7th row, you'll do the crisscross pattern, and you'll continue that until your blanket reaches about 60 inches. This blanket will end up being 40 inches wide and 60 inches long. Okay, now that we've come to the end of our blanket, you're going to want to finish it off, or they call it casting off, to make it so you have a nice beautiful edge just like the beginning. So you finished your last row of the purl 3, knit 3, and now this is the end where you finished over here, but you're going to cast off starting on the opposite end. So these last loops that you have, you're going to want to take the second to the end and insert it into the first one, like that. Then take the next one, insert it into that one, like that. And you're going to keep doing that, inserting the loops into each other until you get to the opposite end where your tail is. And that's making a nice braided edge for your blanket. And then when you get to the end here, this is your last loop. You'll want to insert it in like you've been doing, and then you're left with one loop. And here's the end of your yarn, your working yarn that you've been using, and you'll just simply insert the end into your last knot and then pull it tight, like that. Then you can cut off a section of it and then loop it back through your knot, and I'll just show you with the long piece. You'll just loop it through your braid underneath it, so to hide the end. You should only have to do this for a couple of stitches. And then you'll want to, of course, tie the end in a knot so that it won't unravel, just like we've done before. And then just hide it as you tuck it into that knot. And then you won't be able to see it. And that's it. You have finished your beautiful cable knit sweater blanket.